CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.
We've got George Reeves, who's Market Access Director for Ruminant Bio, waving nicely. Thanks, George. And Colin South, Chief Business Officer for Arkea Bio?
Arkea Bio.
Arkea Bio, got it right there. Right, so we're talking about what I wanted to, at this point, is bring on these two gentlemen and talk about a couple of the tools that are in the toolbox. And I'm not sure if they're ready for use yet or getting very, very close. So I might just start with you, Colin, and talk to us about Arkea Bio, the product that you've got and how's it administered and what is it?
Arkea Bio is a ag biotech company that's based in Boston, Mass, in the States. I'm originally a Kiwi, so it's nice to be back down here, and I appreciate the chance to talk to your audience. We are developing a vaccine to mitigate methane in cattle. The reason that we want a vaccine approach is it fits with pastoral farming well. It's got the lowest potential cost of goods in terms of the amount of carbon it can mitigate, and it is something that farmers are completely used to. We've got about 30 scientists in Boston at the moment. We've been working on this for about 2 years. We have good support financially from the likes of AgriZero, who you'll be hearing about soon. But we are about 2 years away from market. That includes a regulatory process. We've been working with cattle in Texas for about 3 years now in total. We're going to be moving over and doing trials in New Zealand coming up in the next 6 to 9 months in order to make sure that the solutions that we're working with are going to be applicable into a New Zealand application.
All right, fascinating. George, Ruminant Biotech, what have we got? Talk to us about your product.
Firstly, thanks for having us on the show. George Reeves, I've been at Ruminant Biotech. We're a New Zealand-based startup company founded in 2021. I've been there right from the start. We're developing a sustained release device, which we call a bolus. It goes into cattle via oral administration. It sits in the stomach of the cattle and then releases an active ingredient which significantly reduces methane emissions from the animals. So far to date, we've got proof in over 30 animal studies that it works very well at a high level, above 70% of all the methane's reduced, and we have it lasting 90 to 100 days plus in terms of duration of effect from one administration. So the idea with the bolus is it's a really one intervention step, set and forget solution, really fits well into a pastoral farming system because animals can then go back out and graze in the paddock while you're reducing the methane footprint of the animal. And bolusing is a technology that's reasonably familiar to a lot of farmers in New Zealand. It's used already for administration of trace elements and supplements, drenches in some cases. So not something that needs a major change in the farm management system or equipment. So we're reasonably close to market, we hope.
So have you got a regulatory approval to go through here in New Zealand as well?
Yeah, all of these, great question. All of these products go through a regulatory pathway. It's managed in New Zealand by the ACVM. They're part of the Ministry for Primary Industries, and they assess all of your evidence around efficacy. That's how well it works, how safe it is in food, how safe it is to cattle, and how you can manufacture it at a high quality level and consistency. So the regulator, the ACVM, has all that information in a package called a dossier. Our final submission will be going in June, and thereafter the ACVM assess it, and we hope that we'll get a positive registration decision second half of 2026.
So I just want to make clear, this isn't a dragon's den, right? It's not not having you guys competing against each other for ideas and that sort of thing. I'm just really interested in the processes, the different approaches, and I suppose the efficacy and cost of these products once they get to market, because farmers will be very concerned about added costs into their operation, right? And so, Colin, I'll come to you about that. So, first of all, efficacy. What sort of reductions are you seeing in your trial work? And then I suppose, cost. Do you have any idea what it would cost an individual farmer to use the vaccine?
First off, efficacy. We're a little different than most of the other players who have got additives or have got the boluses, and that they know that response they're going to have to their particular chemical. We're working in biotechnology, and we will continue to evolve the product to higher efficacy as we go along.
Right.
So we think we can enter the market at around 15% reduction, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really, when it's applied across a large herd and you continually bring that efficacy up over time due to learnings and additional tools that we have in the toolkit for a vaccine manufacturer, we'll be running with that. Now, vaccines are well known to farmers, and the price point that they exist at will be at some of those similar price points, which, $2 to $5 a dose per animal, but we intend to monetize the product through the benefit in carbon that it gets, which will allow us essentially to get to zero economics with the farmer and give as we move along, give actual benefit back to the farmer in terms of some of that carbon benefit.
Yeah, because on that, we were talking about some of the benefits of various other mitigations yesterday, and the fact that if a cow's not producing or a sheep is not producing methane, then potentially they're more productive.
Yes, and productivity is a hard thing to measure. And so it's one of those things where the mechanism of action looks like it will move towards productivity, and we expect that is where all of these technologies that liberate hydrogen have so the hydrogen is not going into methane. All of them that liberate the hydrogen have the opportunity to redirect that into more productive pathways. But the large-scale trials where that gets proven and looking at mechanisms of action by which that can happen are things that happen once you're in market, really.
Yep. George, what about you? Same sort of question.
Yeah, and I think the first thing I'd say is, like, farmers need a toolbox with a range of solutions. Vaccines, one, a bolus, maybe one. There are other options, genetics, changes in farm management practice. The key thing is that nobody's going to make you adopt and use a technology. You want to have a choice of options to get you to where you want to be. From our point of view, we see products not as competitors, but potentially even as complementary, stackable, interchangeable.
So both. You two could, so a farmer, if they wanted to, could use the vaccine and the bolus.
Yeah.
Potentially.
You don't know that yet? Or
don't know it yet, but potentially, yes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
do you agree, Colin?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's nothing that stops these different technologies that are in the room here, not just ours, but others being stackable and giving greater performance.
And it may be, it's not just about stackability, it's interchangeability. So, for example, you might choose to bolus your young stock, they're easier to handle and manage, you get a high impact. With your larger animals, and say in a lactating cow herd, you'll maybe vaccinate the cows but not bolus them. So it's also having
beef stock, right? You might be vaccinated beef stock and not bolus them, because who the heck wants to do that?
Yeah, or you do, maybe ours lasts 100 days, 120 days, maybe the vaccine lasts 6 months. I'm not sure what you're
actually, that was a
but
question,
so you can deploy different things at different times. And
just before you answer that, I'm going to ask, so the other thing, okay, so we're talking about a goal by 2050 of a reduction of 14 to 24%. That's to is it 24 or 28, one of them, from the government. What you're talking about potentially is, if you're talking 15, you've got another couple of systems in place, say for a dairy farm, EcoPond, for example. You could be hitting that target just with 2 products on farm.
Yep.
That all depends on adoption.
Yeah.
So, and one of our focuses is to use technologies that drop straight into existing systems so that we can have easy adoption. And I think you're absolutely right. The solution is really in the room here, in terms of not just us but others, in terms of it's inevitable we'll be able to get these tools to market. It's just a question of how they end up being combined, and the timeline they get to market in.
So what about then farmer? There's been some pushback, and I know there was a very good presentation yesterday about Bovier in Holland, and some problems that happened there. And I'm sure, I don't want to bring a negative down on it, but there has been some pushback. And part of that was because, and you both touched on this, it was mandated.
Yes.
And that caused a huge amount of problem. We've all seen what happens when you mandate people for things. They don't like it, right? But there is some farmer pushback on these products. Are you worried that potentially you're doing all this work and maybe the uptake might not be what we would expect?
I'm not worried about it in the New Zealand sense, particularly because our application form is something everyone's very comfortable with. But if it's not here, it'll be somewhere else. New Zealand's regulatory climate is really very good for this because it's such an important focus. It doesn't change what the regulatory package looks like, but it just changes the rate at which it's reviewed and the adoption rate. So we see New Zealand as a perfect place to go to market in, but this is a multi-billion-dollar marketplace that's going to develop around the world, whether it's going to be in Europe where it's probably regulated or it's going to be in the US where anything productivity wise is going to get taken up in a hurry. So there are lots of opportunities as a business. We'd like to see it come to New Zealand first, and the frameworks are all here to make that happen. But we give, as you say, if it isn't adopted, then there's a lot of opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
And needs to be not mandated, a positive choice. The reasons for doing it is the emissions reductions are worth value, and farmers should be able to generate value from that emission treated return to farmers so they can generate a new and diversified revenue stream while delivering the produce, meat and milk, with lower emissions that our overseas customers want. And, government targets are irrelevant, really. What do customers want? They want big reductions in emissions, but it should be positive choice. We're doing the right thing, but you're getting rewarded for it.
And that's the silver bullet as far as I'm concerned. If farmers can see financial gain by doing this, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do it? Whether you agree or disagree, I liken it to the uptake of EV cars. I don't. You care about it? Why are you buying it? Because it's cheaper. End of story. Or it's good for your bottom line. So solar energy is the same. It's good for the bottom line. Why wouldn't you do it? So I can see it being. Hey, gentlemen, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, George. Thank you so much, Colin, for outlining this. I've really enjoyed our chat. It's been fantastic. So enjoy. I know you're presenting. I know I heard you last year here, actually. So that's when I thought, hey, you need to come and chat. Really appreciate it. Enjoy. You're Boston?
Yeah.
And where are you based?
Auckland.
Auckland. Oh, well, Boston, Auckland, whatever. Right.
Pleasure. Thank you, Andy.
Really appreciate that.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.